gonna be fun.
I was one of the few people who saw that one in theaters, so I have a lot to say.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get started then. Hello, everybody. My name is Nicholas Heaney, aka Irish Husky. I'm joined here today for the third week of Mouse Madness with a familiar guest, Wesley Hunt, and a semi-familiar guest, Carrick, aka Raccoon Bro.
Hello, everyone.
Hello to you, my fellow Louisianan. All right. So, the past 2 weeks have been pretty one-sided in terms of the matchups. Week 2 had 2 unanimous decisions, and the third decision was a blowout. Last week we had 2 blowouts with 1 unanimous decision. This week is a lot more competitive than the first 2. I have the results pulled up in front of me. I won't reveal them here now, but I will say it was a lot closer than we've seen in the past.
Were there any ties?
We'll get to that.
Yes. That would be spoiling the surprise.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so I knew pretty much from the start that this was going to be much closer than the last week's. There wasn't any single film that was up for the voting that was like an obvious yes. There was one that seemed kind of like an obvious no, though, but we'll get into that. So anyway, let's start from the top. First matchup this week was the 1 seed Fantasia versus the 16 seed, which is non-existent.
Yeah.
Quick side note, I have Fantasia being the overall winner for Class B.
I thought this one was a bit more up in the air. I felt like recency bias would play a role. Not many people have seen Fantasia. I was a bit on the fence for why I chose, but I'm actually thinking Frozen's going to take this group.
Yeah, I have Frozen in the division final, but I have it losing to Fantasia just because I know there are a lot of people who don't like that movie, and also because my audience has a lot of animation snobs, and I say that with love.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Yes, you animation snobs are valid, and I love you. So yeah, Fantasia gets an automatic bye to the second round. And we'll see which film it faces in the second round of these 2 from the next matchup. We had the 8 seed Princess and the Frog versus the 9 seed Alice in Wonderland.
And these films for me are actually very close in quality. They're both really good at what they want to do. One of them's a fun, more experimental Disney side, and the other one's a good classic throwback that managed to get Disney's ball rolling.
The Neo-Renaissance.
The revival, they call it.
Princess and the Frog, as I'm sure you might have guessed, probably one of my favorite Disney movies ever because of how personal it is to me and how it feels like they get everything right about
Louisiana. The Louisianan, where the movie is set.
Yeah.
Everything from the dialects to the music to the settings, everything is laid down to a T. And that alone would make it one of my favorite movies. But
they even got Dr. John to sing the opening number. You can't get more New Orleans than Dr. John.
Yeah, I really like that Cajun bit that they did in the Bayou, because I actually have Cajun heritage, and I've listened to a lot of that music growing up, and they got that down to a T.
Yeah.
Even the little things, like the opening, where Tiana's just hanging out in the neighborhood and giving everybody gumbo. That feeling of community is just so...
Oh, God, I miss gumbo so much. My mother would cook that all the time. Even living in Chicago, she'd cook it for us, and it would be so good, especially in the winter when it's cold outside. And it just, the aesthetic, they capture it all the time.
I may be Southern, but I'm not that Southern, though I think gumbo sounds pretty good, honestly.
Yeah,
that's very good.
Here in Virginia, we do biscuits and gravy. We don't do gumbo.
Yeah,
that's all right, but it doesn't hold a candle to a really good gumbo.
Yeah,
right.
I never cared much for biscuits and gravy. Don't care much for gravy in general.
Anyway, it took a while for me to get used to. Anyway, The Princess and the Frog.
Yes. One more thing I want to say. The opening scene showed the big band going down the street near Tiana's shop, and my mind immediately went to that Family Guy scene where Brian was delivering pizza.
That's such a real. It's so real. We're all just blocking streets. We're all just blocking streets. And then, like, Brian just said, fuck it. We're all just blocking streets.
It's like every day's Mardi Gras in New Orleans.
That's why I love that city.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into the actual nitty-gritty with Princess and the Frog.
Yes. So it's not just because of the setting, obviously, that I love that film. Like, it's not enough just to be taking place in where I'm from. You also have to have good characters,
right? And
animation, and these are some excellent characters. I can't think of a single bad egg in the whole cast. Everyone from Tiana to Prince Naveen,
to Dr. Facilier,
Shadow Man.
Tiana's friend Lottie, she was great.
Yeah,
like she's kind of that spoiled rich girl, but she's a complete heart of gold and over the top enthusiasm for Tiana's goals.
Right, could have made her just so easy to be a rival character, but she's not.
Everybody needs a friend like her, I say.
Right.
John Goodman as Big Daddy is perfect casting as well, since he's very into Louisiana culture himself.
Really?
Right.
John Good. Yeah, because like I believe his daughter or something like that went to LSU, or his wife maybe. And there's a recent screenshot of him going to an LSU game and like turning the pot of a giant gumbo bowl while at a tailgate for an LSU game.
Wow.
So John Goodman, I will always approve of him in these types of movies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is I believe the second John Goodman role we've talked about. The other being Pacha from The Emperor's New Groove. John Goodman's amazing. He lives.
Yeah. Why does he not have an Oscar? I'm totally petitioning for that.
He lives up to his name.
He's
except when he played Walter in The Big Lebowski, but even then he killed that role too.
Right. He's been all over the place. He's won some Emmys and Golden Globes. He's been in not one but two Best Picture winners, The Artist and Argo.
And 2 consecutive.
Yeah. So he's been all over the place.
Yeah.
I think probably Dr. Facilier, that guy, probably one of my favorite Disney villains, period. Like, if it wasn't for Hayden,
he's another guy who was in 2 Best Picture winners, Platoon and Crash.
Wow.
David probably has one of the sexiest voices known to man. He is so awesome.
Yeah, he was great. All the main players in this film, and even a lot of the supporting ones, were fantastically written.
Yeah, Tiana's probably my second favorite princess. We'll get to Belle when that movie comes up, but Tiana, she just has a mojo. She has a personality. She's a working person, and she does a good job at putting the twist on the classic Disney story of wishing upon a star without actually breaking it. She's just adding to it.
Right. And she's a strong, independent woman who don't need no man, but that doesn't mean she ain't open to it.
Yeah,
exactly. She gets one anyway.
Yeah. And it's entirely on her own merits, too.
Yep. And what's funny is I was going to go in college, and we had a group where we were going to sing gender swap Disney songs.
Really?
Where like the boys would sing songs performed by the girls. One that I was going to pick was Almost There.
Oh, wow.
Because I really like that song. I was also going to do My Lullaby from Lion King 2.
Oh my gosh,
really?
Wow.
Huh. I don't know that one. I haven't seen
I may still record that one. You never know.
Huh. Lion King, I wish we could talk about Lion King 1.5, because I just watched that movie 2 days ago. But although I know it's not in the running, so...
Yeah.
We'll
isn't that kind of like Lion King in Mystery Science Theater 3000 form?
It basically, with a few elements of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Yeah. So, like, basically, we've been there the whole time. You just didn't know it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sort of thing. And also, it has Timon's mom, played by Marge from The Simpsons.
Really?
Right. And Uncle Max, voiced by the late Jerry Stiller.
Aw.
I like Jerry Stiller. I mostly know him from King of Queens.
Yeah.
Festivus for the rest of us. Oh, speaking of voice actors, one thing that I find really impressive about Princess and the Frog is that it not only has one voice actor in its main cast, but it has two. Michael Leon Woolley as Lewis, the alligator, and Jim Cummings, the legendary Jim Cummings, as
the voice of a generation.
And I find it to be a very refreshing change of pace, like not only with the animation, but also diversity of the people they decided to cast. I really like that.
Yeah.
They did.
And also, Ray's pretty nice. He doesn't get on my nerves like I thought I would.
Yeah. And when I told my mom that that was Jim Cummings voicing Ramon, she was like, "Are you sure? Like, that sounds like a Cajun person."
Well, I think Jim Cummings is from there, so
yeah, he gets. Of course, he has that really famous line where they're like, "You might want to sit down for this, but we're from a very far away place." Oh, y'all from Shreveport?
Yeah, and he also voiced Leatherhead in the original Ninja Turtles, so I know he can do Cajun.
Wow.
That Shreveport line is an inside joke for people from Louisiana.
This is gonna be one of my better days, I guarantee.
Yeah, there's so much to like about this movie.
Yeah.
I do like this movie a lot. There are a few things that kind of bother me, though. It's mostly story related.
Like the Deus Ex Machina at the end.
They turn back to humans on a technicality. Like, they get married, so she's technically a princess.
Was this movie written by lawyers?
Written by babies.
Yeah. I think the thing that bothers me the most is just kind of how needlessly complicated they made Tiana's goal of getting the money for her restaurant. Because she, early on, she gets the money from Lottie when she orders, the 500 beignets for the Mardi Gras party.
Right.
And it never really occurs to Tiana that she could just ask Lottie's family for, a business loan. Because they're obviously on good terms. They're
loaded.
They go from, the richest part of the city to one of the poorest parts just for her food. Obviously, they're on good terms. If it'd be one thing if Tiana were, too proud to accept that kind of loan. I can't accept that money from you. And Lottie would be like, well, what if... Well, it's not a loan if we're placing an order.
Yeah.
That would have been some interesting dialogue. And I feel like the dilemma at the very end where Naveen is about to kiss Lottie, that also felt kind of needlessly complicated. He could have kissed Lottie, who is technically a princess of the Mardi Gras festival. They'd turn back into humans. There's nothing saying that he would have to marry her. He could still marry Tiana and help open the restaurant. Unless I'm missing something, I felt like that moment was a little bit unwarranted.
Yeah, and they dragged it out a little longer, which led to the aforementioned Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
They do that thing where they abuse cinema time, and they go in for the really slow kiss, even though they're clearly on a time limit.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I thought about is that they kind of do one of those things where just the easy way out. She still has the exact same amount of money that she had from the beginning, but this time she has an alligator to basically be their strongman. Yeah, kids, if you can't afford to buy something, just get an alligator, a pet alligator, to threaten them with violence. Right. That's how they solve the issue.
What, you don't have an alligator to strong arm?
I'm not at liberty to answer that question.
They would take tons of food per day.
Large animals are very expensive to take care of.
Yeah, just ask Bart Simpson when he got that elephant.
Right.
Okay. All right, so Princess and the Frog, good movie.
Thumbs up.
All right, now Alice in Wonderland. I'll preface this by saying, before I started Mouse Madness, I had watched Dumbo, and I'd seen the pink elephant scene, the drunk scene, as it were, and just based on my preferences when it comes to storytelling, I felt like that scene kind of dragged out a little too long, like weirdness for the sake of weirdness. It was a leftover bit that Disney couldn't fit into Fantasia, so we just plopped it here. It wasn't a bad scene, but I felt like it could have done a little bit shorter. And I knew Alice in Wonderland was all about weirdness for the sake of weirdness, so I was kind of expecting that reaction. I ended up liking this movie way more than I thought I would.
Yeah, it's surprisingly pretty detailed and pretty close to the Lewis Carroll book. There's a few parts cut out, the order gets changed, but there are scenes and even lines of dialogue quoted verbatim, and it follows in general the idea of illogic and nonsense.
Yeah. And it has the voice of the original Winnie the Pooh as the Cheshire Cat.
Right, hungry, baby. Very iconic man there.
Another voice of a generation.
I can't wait till we get to the first Winnie the Pooh. That's like one of my favorite childhood movies.
Yeah, and when we get to the Jungle Book, I thought Ka swallowed poo when I was younger.
That's a little fucked up. Like, they have one of the creepiest characters in the film have the exact same voice as like a very child-friendly icon.
That's just uncanny.
Right.
Why would you do this to us, Disney? Why?
I mean, to be fair, this movie predates Winnie the Pooh by like 25 years.
Like when I found out that one scene in Rick and Morty where Morty was being attacked in the bathroom by a pedophile, and I found out later that pedophile was voiced by Tom Kenny.
Oh my god!
Oh
no! Who also voices Rabbit in the new Winnie the Pooh movie?
Yeah, I knew that.
Oh, we're making all kinds of connections here.
Not in the live-action one.
Yeah, but like the 2011 one.
Also in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Alice in Wonderland. I think the reason that I was so into this one compared to the pink elephant scene is Alice herself. Like, her reactions to all the weirdness around her, like, it just hits a wide range of emotions from, like...
You need to have a straight man.
Like just general curiosity, then complete bewilderment. Towards the end, she's just like, I guess we're doing this now. And when they sing the Unbirthday song again at the end, she's like, not this again.
Screw this, I'm going home.
She is so...
I'm going home.
Exactly.
She's so expressive, and that really makes it for me.
You gotta have a Mad Max to balance out the madness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she does get a bit more agency in this, because even though it's all a dream, which isn't really a spoiler, by the way, it's kind of spelled out, but she's able to follow the rabbit, she's able to pick the locations to go. Yeah, the cat gives her the shortcut, but she kind of was on that way anyway.
Yeah.
I want to get your opinion on this, and it's very important. Do you think this is a movie to start the whole giantess craze?
Probably.
Probably.
When you think about it.
There have been giantesses in Norse mythologies.
This is like one of the first ones I can think of where like you can see like the transformation from tiny girl.
Puberty metaphor.
I noticed like when she first ate the mushroom, and then she grew taller than the forest. I think I noticed her voice actually getting higher as she grew. Like, that's not how this works. Your voice gets higher when you shrink, not when you grow.
Exactly, because
I guess that just adds to the weirdness of Wonderland.
Yeah,
So,
and it also,
Alice
and I
eats
guess
shrooms,
it also,
the caterpillar smokes hookah.
this is one of those movies that-
the caterpillar's offended at Alice's remark of 3 inches being a dreadful height. It's like,
okay, so this is
So
one of
many
those
drug
movies,
references.
this is one of those movies that I have seen a very long time ago as a kid. And when you're a kid, you see all the madness on screen, and you don't really think about any of the metaphors or anything. I want to know, what the heck is the metaphor with the queen? What's the metaphor with her?
Apparently, she was meant to either criticize the royalty of Britain or just be something with puberty and emotional change. But what's funny is, in the book, the queen was just a curmudgeonly old lady, and her mood changes were from a character called the Duchess, who was effectively similar but serves a different role.
Interesting.
Yeah, here's a fun fact. When I was in 6th grade, my middle school put on a production of Alice in Wonderland Jr., which follows the movie pretty closely, with a lot of stuff cut out, obviously. And
Were you in it?
I was in it. I was Tweedledee.
Neat.
They represent Dee and Tweedledum.
Yeah, they're from like nursing rhymes. They represent like the duality of man or something.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I did not get to tell the story of the walrus and the carpenter.
Oh man.
Yeah. I felt like that part of the movie, I kind of just slowed things to a halt. But
To be fair, though, that is in Looking Glass, the sequel book. They took elements from both books.
Part of the movie messed me up as a kid. Like, oh my gosh, she's eating children.
That's like the most creative Disney death, though. For a studio so family-friendly and lighthearted, they have some pretty graphic death scenes.
I guess
Like
the walrus was having steamed clams that night.
Yes.
No, I said steamed ham. The entire sequence felt like a Looney Tunes short. Like, even the ending where, like, he's chasing him off, like, for eating all the clams. Like, that felt like a whole Looney Tunes short.
Exactly.
All right, so...
This movie or Tim Burton?
I've never seen the Tim Burton version. I have no plans to.
Yeah.
So between these two movies, I know, Carrick, you said this Princess and the Frog was like one of your all-time favorites. So I'm guessing you went with that one.
Yeah.
And,
I nudged it with Princess and the Frog, but it was kind of a gut call.
Yeah, it was kind of close for me too. I actually went with Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, I mean, I know I got on Princess and the Frog's case for being like a little too complicated and confusing. And then I'm here with Alice in Wonderland, whose whole thing is about confusion. I think it's the fact that it was deliberate and Alice was so expressive. I think that's what wins it over. Alice is a great character, and I think great characters from all the movies. This was legitimately a tough choice.
Better do an Alice Through the Looking Glass animated version and like get back the original voice actress for Alice.
She's retired, last I heard, but still around, so it's possible.
Or she can still do the voice.
Yeah, she was doing it in Kingdom Hearts well into her 70s.
Really?
Dang, that is some Alan Young levels of commitment.
Wow.
Yep.
All right, so let's get to the results. Right. Princess and the Frog, 10 votes. Alice in Wonderland, 5 votes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Dang.
Good representation on both sides. And I think this is the first time, Wesley, that we've disagreed on an outcome. So I'm
I
sorry,
knew we
but
wouldn't
by
agree on everything,
well,
but
I'm sorry, but by the laws of the internet, we can no longer be friends.
yeah, that's fine.
All right, so yeah, round 2, we're gonna have Fantasia versus the Princess and the Frog. That'll be a good
Gonna be
matchup.
something. That's gonna be something. Again, I think recency bias will make this matchup a little close.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
I don't particularly enjoy like sitting through the entirety of Fantasia.
I actually had to get through it in 2 sittings.
That's why there's an intermission.
Yeah,
Fantasia's one of those things that I respect more than I enjoy.
absolutely.
I respect it for the artistry and the music and all that, but it's like I cannot sit through this entire thing in one go.
Yeah,
I have before, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
yeah. I've seen Fantasia 2000 before in a music class in middle school.
I used that to test out my new surround sound when I was getting a new TV. We played the Firebird theme to see how our new speakers worked.
Yeah. I always misread that as the Freebird Suite. All right.
My God. It's over 2 hours. That's incredibly long for an animated movie.
It's like the 3rd or 4th longest animated movie ever made.
Is it now? All right, then. Let's move on to the next matchup. We have the 5 seed Lady and the Tramp versus the 12 seed Treasure Planet.
Ooh, this is an interesting one.
All right, let's begin with Lady and the Tramp. I love this movie. It has cute doggos, and that's all I need.
I love it too. It's got some great character. It's got some funny moments. And let me tell you, I did see the remake a while ago.
Oh, yeah?
And while it did fix the Siamese cat scene and some other dated elements, it's less memorable. It doesn't have as much personality. Yeah. So I will say this. Sam Elliott is Trusty. Perfect casting.
Yeah. I mean, basically, Sam Elliott has been to cowboy in Hollywood. Like, that's all he's ever allowed to play.
Right. But as for the original, it just had the good characters. It had some fun romance. Yeah. It had that iconic spaghetti kiss scene. A lot of that you couldn't convey with the realistic dogs. It just had to be cartoony. Yeah. And the fact that I don't think ever see the humans' faces.
I think you see John Deere's face.
Aside from the restaurant owners. Yeah, but aside from the restaurant owners who look as cartoony as the dogs, it's mostly done from the animals' perspectives.
Right. I mean, props to that Italian restaurant for taking the time to serve dogs.
Right.
Spaghetti, of all things. It's another one of the things that Family Guy ruined for me with their own version of that scene.
Yeah. We now return to Lady and the Tramp and Michael Vick.
Yes!
Oh, God.
Also, shoves their heads into buckets of water.
Oh, jeez.
Dark.
Also, I think we could all relate to Lady being muzzled right now.
Yeah, kind of. At least we have the option to take our masks off, once we're allowed to. But
outdoors,
Lady didn't have that. She had to get help from the beaver, who reminds me a lot of the gopher from Winnie the Pooh.
Right? Yeah.
I'd be surprised if it was the same voice actor.
I would be. Yeah. I remember gophers are not endemic to Britain, where Winnie the Pooh is supposedly set. So now the gopher makes even less.
To be fair, he's not in the book.
Right, but it might have been that the gopher was inspired by the beaver.
Maybe. Okay. Yeah, this movie is just it's cute, it's fun, it's one of my favorites from early Disney. I think only beaten out slightly by Alice in Wonderland.
Right, and Disney wanted to try a more experimental for him type of thing because he was all about fantasy, so he wanted one that was as grounded in reality as a talking dog movie could be.
Yeah, a trend that would follow him to the next talking dog movie. which
and that
again,
and that has a matchup coming up later.
Yes, it does.
I'm sorry. What's the trend?
101 Dalmatians is the next talking dog movie.
A trend of having talking dogs. Gotcha.
Yeah. And I guess he figured, if a movie with a few talking dogs was a hit, surely a movie with over 100 talking dogs will be a bigger hit.
And it was.
Yeah.
Box office wise, anyway.
Yeah, and I think it spawned the first live-action Disney remake.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Before the live-action remakes were cool.
Before the pandemic of remakes.
This was actually the live-action was actually my introduction to that, but we'll talk more about that once we get there, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So, Lady and the Tramp, good stuff. Treasure Planet.
Yeah. I wanted to say one more thing about.
Go ahead.
When it comes to the Siamese cats, with them changing that in the remake, I totally get it. Like, there are some things that from old Disney that obviously haven't aged well. Looking at you, Aristocats, but
God, I know what scene you're talking about.
But when it comes to changing those kinds of things, basically, you have to think to yourself, should we be the best for us to go with political correctness or personality? And you can't have one or the other when it comes to that kind of stuff and like translating older media. So it's a bit of a I get why they did it, and it's probably for the best that they did. But at the same time, you gotta take some sacrifices. And
do the cats in the live action not have that kind of devious personality that the ones?
No, they're more rambunctious than anything, and their number is now a big band number.
Not nearly as memorable, but sometimes if you make the decision to remake something that old, you got to take those kinds of things into account. Like if somebody was remaking Breakfast at Tiffany's, they have to completely change Mickey Rooney's character.
Right.
I love that song.
Anyway,
the song Breakfast at Tiffany's.
I just blew something.
Yeah.
That was my 2 cents.
All right. Treasure Planet.
Yeah, and this friggin' tastic movie.
Yeah, this one's pretty good. I didn't appreciate it as much when I was younger, but I've since read the original book and seen where animation went after this, and I'm really disappointed this movie didn't do better, but I am glad I got to watch it in the theaters.
Yeah.
The movie was a net financial loss, but I contributed to it.
Thank you, Wesley. You and your family are good people.
Yeah, but it's got just so much creativity, so much technical innovation, and it represents a surprisingly underexplored genre in animation. We really need more steampunk animation.
It's like steampunk without the steam.
Right. The only other steampunk animations I can think of are the recent April in the Extraordinary World and the Disney film that came out a year prior to this, Atlantis the Lost Empire.
Oh, yeah?
Maybe they think steampunk isn't profitable because those movies bombed.
Right.
That's a shame.
Hey, I am not convinced that Disney did not purposefully try to get Treasure Planet to do terribly. I think they did everything in their power to get that movie to fail.
Yeah.
I mean, they released it on the same day as freaking Harry Potter. What were they expecting?
Michael Eisner left with a grudge, and I think he might have played a role in deliberately tanking some of their movies. There was Atlantis, there was Treasure Planet, there was Home on the Range, and he just said, "Bye, Felicia."
They seriously did irreparable damage to 2D animation as a medium, and I will never forgive him for that.
Yeah, I mean, they could have had a comeback with Princess and the Frog, but that got released the same weekend as Avatar.
Which was and Alvin and the Chipmunks. You should have seen the vitriol when they realized it got beat out by Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh, God, really?
They did the exact same thing again with Winnie the Pooh by releasing it on the same day as a Harry Potter movie.
Oh, man.
Another Harry Potter movie.
Oh, as the Beastie Boys would say, I'm telling y'all, it's sabotage.
Right. But aside from the sabotage, this is actually a pretty faithful retelling of Treasure Island, just in space.
One thing I will say about this movie is you were right. Like, the technological advancements of this film is unbelievable because it combines 2D animation with the backgrounds, and it leads to some of the most fascinating and just mind-blowing shots in the movie. Like that one scene where all the pirates are running around the ship, like during the supernova, or when they're being chased around and trying to get away on the ship. Like, it is so freaking cool. Like the camera work and the way it's moving, and we're following these characters. Like, you can't pull that kind of stuff off with normal 2D animation because of like the limitations of backgrounds.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I usually don't talk much about. I usually don't consider the animation aspect as much. I'm more of a story and characters guy, but god damn, this movie just looks incredible. This would have been amazing to see on the big screen.
Yeah, it was.
Totally get that because, you know, back then most Disney animated movies, like, you know, you get what you pay for. You know what they all look good, but, you know, generally they have the same, you know, level of goodness. But like Treasure Planet, you cannot ignore like the craziness that's going on here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just the solar surfing scene, that's like the signature. They do the different camera angles and the technological backdrop.
I love how they set it in a sci-fi setting, but they still keep that, you know, old-timey aesthetic with the ship.
Yeah, it's really like that. It's very unique.
Yeah, and there are more twists now. Instead of having a peg leg, Long John Silver's a cyborg. Instead of a parrot, he has a morph. Blob.
Anything.
Yeah, instead of a castaway human, Ben Gunn is a robot, and that's a pretty good twist.
Robot that literally lost his mind.
Right.
Oh, that's
and also, fun fact, this I think is like one of 3 iterations of Treasure Planet on Disney Plus right now.
Really?
There's this one, the live action version from the 50s, and Muppet Treasure Island.
This was Tim Curry, right?
Yeah, I recommend all 3.
Wow.
You ever watch
Universal?
Right. This is the story that helped basically define pirate culture.
In high school, when I did more theater, like Treasure Island was one that we did, and I played Long John Silver. It was like one of my last roles, like at that specific troupe. So it was sort of, we considered it my magnum opus at the time, like my swan song. And we watched this movie for inspiration, and I got so emotional watching it. Like literally any scene where John and Jim are on screen together, and he's like talking to him about giving him the emotional pep talk. I freaking tear up during those scenes.
Yeah, that's the thing. They say beware John, but he's not all bad. He's the guy you can sympathize with.
All right. I mean, I think that they did a really good job, you know, making him an actually, you know, complex antagonist. Like, you genuinely feel his connection with Jim, but also, you know, to the other, you know, crew members who are about to mutiny the ship because, you know, they want Flint's gold.
Right. And that's the other thing. The biggest twist of this movie is that there was actually a treasure.
But the real treasure was the friends we made along the way.
Right. More often than not, the MacGuffin is just not there. It's just a red herring. But this time there was actually a treasure.
Okay. All right. Here's the one small problem I had with the movie. Now, I've never read the original book, so I don't know how faithful it is, but the character of Amelia is incredible. She's like a fierce, fearless leader, taking charge, takes no bullshit. And they just kind of sideline her in the third act, you know, with the injury from the crash. And
it was unfortunate.
Yeah. Does something like that actually happen in the book, though?
Kind of. Well, first of all, the captain in the actual book is a dude, Smollett, and he does get injured, but I don't remember if he's actually out of commission like that.
Yeah, that's a shame. I liked Amelia.
But other than that, this was a pretty faithful adaptation, just retrofitted for space.
Yeah.
I haven't read the book, but as far as I know, like from the play that we did, like those side characters don't get nearly as much attention as they do in this movie. I'm just gonna say it. Yeah. They're way cooler in Disney's version.
Wow.
Another like slight change they made that I found interesting. In the original, Jim's dad is simply dead, but in this one,
he's a deadbeat.
Yeah, and which is something that Disney almost never does, and I think that's really because normally it's just dead parents, but now they're finally trying something else out, and it's relatable to reach out to other people who are dealing with that, and the way they do is like it's so mature and heart-throbbing too.
Yeah, also, fun fact: Jim's mom has the same voice actress as Andy's mom in the Toy Story films.
Yeah.
Who also never has her husband shown.
It's weird, but I was saying it's Disney parents where it's like you just assume they're dead.
Yeah, what are you gonna? Except in cases like Treasure Planet where they're upfront about that.
And I freaking love it for that.
Yeah. All right, so you want to get to the voting?
Sure.
All right.
This is an easy one.
All right, so before I reveal the winner, I just want to say, you know how you were asking if there were any ties? There were not, but this came really freaking close.
I would imagine. I knew this would be competitive.
And I'll tell you how close it was. The margin of victory was a single vote.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, the winner got 7 votes, the loser got 6, and the winner with 7 votes... Treasure Planet.
Yay!
Yeah.
The first major upset of the tournament.
Yes, a 12 seed beating a 5 seed.
Didn't realize all the Lady and the Tramp love. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's just Treasure Planet being underappreciated. More people need to see this movie.
Yeah, it's kind of a cult classic now, but it's not quite at that big level. It's not Emperor's New Groove levels of popular.
Yeah,
I think it's better than Emperor's New Groove, but unfortunately, it's not nearly as quotable.
Yeah. Right.
I
actually heard Power Loud Girl propose the idea of a remake to fix some of the story problems. I wouldn't mind that, but with all the steampunk stuff, it would be hard to do in live action. So I say if they are to remake this, it should be animation to animation.
Yeah.
No. I want a sequel to this bad boy. They were going to do a sequel. I want to see what happened. Where
that would be good too. I would like that.
Long John Silver comes back and he needs Jim's help, and there's a new girl who's also helping. I want to see that movie so badly.
Me too. That sounds great.
Bring back Joseph Gordon-Levitt and bring back everybody that you can. I want it in my life.
Yes. That'd be amazing. So I've actually been doing my part in spreading this movie because earlier today at work we were having a big team meeting, and every week our main group supervisor, he always lists off his viewing history during the week and gives off recommendations. He opened it to the rest of my coworkers, and I suggested Treasure Planet. So now they know about it, and my boss's boss had seen it before, and he loved the suggestion because he loves the movie too.
Aww.
So yeah.
That's awesome. See, the Disney movies, they're bringing people together.
Yeah.
As they were intended to.
Yes. And now I'm spreading it to a group of actuaries, which is a profession that is explicitly mentioned in Zootopia, by the way, in the opening scene.
I knew that.
Yeah. That was the first thing I noticed when I watched it, because I watched it like right when I was on track to my career, and that was a cool little tidbit.
Hey, do you ever wonder why me and your mom are so darn happy? Nope.
All right, let's
go. I love that line.
All right, let's go on to the final matchup. 101 Dalmatians was the 4 seed, and its matchup, the 13 seed, Pocahontas.
This is an easy one already.
Yeah, this
I'm
was.
sorry.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of either film, but even I thought this decision was easy.
Yeah,
it
was super easy.
I don't know if there are any Pocahontas fans out there, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah,
I know a few Pocahontas fans, but I voted 101 Dalmatians. That one was a technical achievement, but in a different way. It's the Xerox thick outline period for Disney.
Yeah.
If you have 101 distinct characters, you're not going to draw them all by hand, so you're just going to Xerox them. But what made this movie for me, what was the most memorable, was, of course, Cruella.
Yeah.
Cruella. She's so over the top, so animated, so crazy. And that's actually one reason why I prefer the remake, because Glenn Close is Cruella in that, and they develop her more.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I said in the 10 words or less recap, Cruella de Vil is the original Karen.
Actually, that's from Goodfellas, if you've seen that.
I have not. But you'll have to ask my dad.
But this movie came out first, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just unfortunate naming. You name your kid Cruella de Vil, and you wonder what happened.
Right.
Like, that's on you. It's like in Friendship is Magic. Diamond Tiara's mom's maiden name was Spoiled Milk. Like, no shit, she turned out the way she did. That's a terrible name. Shame on you.
Yeah.
Do you think Scar's name is his actual name, or do you think it's a nickname?
I mean, his relatives all have African-inspired names. I'm assuming his was like that too, and he was named after his facial deformity. After the fact, that's my theory.
Right, but 101 Dalmatians is kind of fun at points. It was the highest-grossing movie of its year, beating out even the eventual Best Picture winner, West Side Story.
No kidding.
Huh. Yeah, but overall, I feel like its pacing needs some problems, and if you're having 101 different characters, you're not going to develop them fully.
Yeah,
but the two lead dogs, they're okay.
Yeah, the movie takes a little while to really get going. Like
Right.
the first two acts, like they're kind of slow going. There's a bit of tension there, getting the signal out to all the other dogs. The third act, though, where they're getting out of the manor and back to London, that actually had some surprisingly intense moments. Like, it was actually kind of gripping.
Right, like the maid running out in the streets calling out for help. That part actually did get a reaction from me.
Like
the part where they're smuggling the dogs onto the back of the truck while disguising themselves as Labradors. That was also really tense, because they have so many dogs to get in before the truck goes, and they also have to disguise themselves so that they're not seen by Cruella or her henchmen.
Right.
I'm gonna drop hot take on you guys. Everyone has their own favorite movies from eras. Like, what's your favorite early Disney movie? This is my favorite early Disney movie.
Really?
Silver Age.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean by early Disney? Do you mean like when Disney was still alive?
Yes, when he was alive.
Okay. I can see that. I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
But see, I was not expecting to like this movie as much as I did when I watched it. It was about a few months ago. I can't remember, but I fell in love with this movie. I can't explain why. Just something about the charm of it. It's got a mellow feeling, but it's also really it does have that intensity at times. But I find the characters so damn charming. Like, even the henchmen, I think, are freaking hilarious. Like, there's that one line of dialogue where they're disguised as Labradors and trying to get to the truck. And the fat henchman's like, "Hey, those dogs are actually the Dalmatians disguising themselves." And then the tall one's like, Oh, you know what? You've got a point. Dogs always color themselves black. Idiot! Like, it's the scenes like that that make me really like the movie a lot more than most people.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. I should check out the sequel. I heard that that's pretty good.
Patch's London Adventure. That's one of the better Disney sequels.
I actually saw that sequel before the original. I remember absolutely nothing about it because I was like 9 when I saw it, and it was just on the Disney Channel one morning in the summer. But yeah, I saw the sequel first, and I did like 101 Dalmatians. Maybe not quite as much as Lady and the Tramp, but 2 good talking dog movies. I'll take it. You did a good thing, Disney.
Yeah, I feel like I probably would like the sequel. It's like they've got Jeff Bennett and Maurice LaMarche as the henchmen, and those 2 are gods, in my opinion.
Yeah, voice acting legends.
Absolutely. So it's like, that's already a win.
Yeah. All right. So you want to move on to Pocahontas now?
Oh, yeah.
What's there to say?
Oh, Disney.
Seriously, I'm legitimately curious. What is there to say about this movie?
Well, the animators were banking on this one being their big hit. They even said if Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture, this is going to be the one to win it. They had their hubris tied to Pocahontas and had their B squad on Lion King, and let's just say they bet on the wrong horse.
Wasn't there a similar situation with I want to say Shrek?
I think so, yeah.
So, nice job, animators. I would have loved to see what your March Madness predictions would have been.
Right.
But yeah, I'll say it. Of all the ones that I've seen so far for this marathon, this is my least favorite.
And we haven't even gotten to the 15 scenes yet, but Pocahontas is the weak link of the Disney Renaissance, mostly because of the questionable historiography.
Yeah, I mean,
having a character who is 12 years old in real life.
Oh my God, that's right.
Looks like she's in her 30s in this movie.
I think they're trying to make her like a young adult. I don't know
16,
what the
I think.
I don't know what
16.
I don't know what the standards were in Powhatan culture, but I'm pretty sure that's pushing it, Disney.
On behalf of my home state of Virginia, I apologize.
Oh God. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Like, even if this were just a completely made-up story, I'd still have a lot of problems with it.
Yeah, I was kind of bored. That's like the big criticism I had, is just I was bored.
Like, yeah, there's not a whole lot of comic relief here. They kind of try to do that with the dog and the raccoon, but it never really lands.
No.
It just feels like a side thing that's not really related to anything. Like they're trying to do a Looney Tunes short in a Disney movie.
Yeah, I mean...
And then they have the talking tree that somehow acts as a universal translator.
It's a movie about communicating with nature without any animals, without any talking animals.
Come on, guys. Missed opportunities.
If the tree could work for humans, could it work for the raccoon too?
It's one of the only Disney movies without a single talking animal, and that's baffling to me.
And there's also another issue I have where, you know, a good part of the first half clearly makes the English settlers out to be the so-called savages. You know, they're invading this land, looking for gold, killing the natives if they have to. They make this explicit, and Ratcliffe's right-hand man even explicitly mentions that that's why, you know, they had attacked them in that one scene. But then it kind of switches to, you know, both sides are in the wrong for wanting to inflict violence. Like, can't we all just get along? Like, there's a clear aggressor here, guys.
Right.
And
not cool.
And the fact that this is based on a real story, and that's not at all how it happened, it only makes this even more glaring. Like,
yeah, you are allowed to make a fantasy. You are allowed to make a sort of foresight version, but the way Disney was presenting it, I felt like they were an obligation to tell the story as tactfully as possible.
Yeah.
The most historically accurate accurate thing is the flag at the very beginning. It's not the traditional Union Jack because Scotland was not in the Union yet, so they just went with the British and Irish cross.
Quentin Tarantino, this film is not.
Yeah.
Nope.
So
yeah.
In fact, when I watched this movie as a kid, and it got to the famous Savages musical number, that everyone's like, okay, even though this film sucks, this scene's at least pretty cool. But when I watched it as a kid, I thought they were saying sandwiches the entire time.
There's sandwiches, barely any mustard.
I was thinking, oh, they're gonna have a picnic? Okay. That's how they got angry. Like the English settlers, they were coming because they wanted to have a picnic, and the Native Americans were like, "Hey, you can't. That's our spot. You can't have that. We were going to have a picnic there."
And the first course is John Smith.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I never really did leave Jamestown because of a gunpowder injury.
There's one part of this that did get me to laugh. It's the scene where, John Smith and Pocahontas are meeting for the first time, and John Smith is just being like this sincere yet completely condescending ass. Pocahontas is like, "Our houses are fine," and John's like, "You only think that because you don't know any better." But he's not even being deliberately condescending. He's just saying that so matter-of-factly. And the fact that you know that he's going to be the one to get a dressing down, it makes it easier to digest.
Right.
I do want to point out, when my older brother was in the 8th grade, for his talent show, he did a piano cover of Colors of the Wind. Did piano, sung it. Apparently he told me afterwards this was just a performance for the school and only the 8th graders were allowed. Apparently he got the first standing ovation in decades. According to one of the English teachers who had been there for 40 years.
Neat.
For him.
Yeah.
I mean, that is in context. That is a really good song.
The songs in this movie on their own are all right. Alan Menken, Tim Rice, pretty good combo. They still get the job done.
Yeah. I feel like What's Beyond the River Bend felt kind of clunky, though.
Yeah, some of its musical structuring.
Yeah, I kind of find it hard to find, where the hook was, where the beat was. I had a similar problem with I'll Make a Man Out of You from Mulan. Because I didn't realize that it started on an upbeat.
Right. But anyway, also, this movie gave us the infamous line, "See how I glitter."
Yes, see how I glitter. That villain is such a joke.
Right.
But I do remember one other joke that stuck with me as a kid, and I don't know why, but whatever reason, I think they're in a tent or something, and what's the main villain's name?
Radcliffe. John Radcliffe.
Radcliffe.
Not to be confused with Ratigan from Great Mouse Detective.
Nope. John Radcliffe was a real person, but I don't think he was the governor of Jamestown.
Yeah. And I don't think they sent him back to England to be tried for treason. I think he was actually killed by the natives.
Yeah, I think so too.
He was in his tent or something, looking over some papers, and his lackey or sidekick came in, and he had an arrow through his head, and he was like, I made it myself, and he took it off.
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
Oh, I also like this bit. And what if we run into any savages? Then we'll have to give them a proper English greeting, like gift baskets. I don't know that guy's name, but I like him.
Yeah.
The reason that scene stuck with me is because Radcliffe actually reacted genuinely. He legitimately thought that there was a real arrow through his head. I was like, "Oh my god, did this guy actually dead?"
I mean,
no.
This was right after the first fight scene, so yeah, it makes sense he'd react that way.
But yeah, if you guys want to have an more accurate retelling of what happened in Jamestown, just just watch the JonTron video on it. It's much more entertaining.
Yeah.
Boy, I noticed that your boy is a skeleton. Do you guys want some food so that it's no longer a skeleton?
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, I think we can all agree Pocahontas was kind of a dud.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And really no need for suspense, but just keeping up with tradition. Okay, 101 Dalmatians got 11 votes. Add a 0 in the middle, and it would have gotten 101 votes, and that would have been perfectly fitting.
Yeah.
Pocahontas got 3 votes, so there's a little bit of love for it, but not a whole lot.
Some people turned out.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Also, another thing with Pocahontas, at the time, Mel Gibson as John Smith was the highest paid voiceover.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
That record was surpassed by Cameron Diaz in Shrek 1.
That makes sense.
They paid to use their normal speaking voices.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that David Ogden Stiers voiced Radcliffe.
Yep.
Not sure.
R.I.P.
What else
He
was
was
he
a
in?
champ. He was Cogsworth in Beauty and the Beast and Jumba in Lilo and Stitch.
He's also like the spider guy in Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so yeah, that can.
Oh, Wiggins.
Oh.
The manservant is Wiggins, and Stiers also voiced him. We voiced 2 characters in this movie.
Wow, I actually did not know that. That's versatility.
Good for Stiers. Jeez,
All right.
fun saying his name right.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so that basically wraps up the voting for the week, and we have our first set of round 2 matchups for Class B. We've got Fantasia versus Princess and the Frog, and we've got Treasure Planet versus 101 Dalmatians.
I'm very curious to see how that goes, and I'm
Yeah,
honestly
Treasure Planet seems like it could make a really close good run for its seed.
Yeah, I feel like people who like Treasure Planet love Treasure Planet.
Yeah, exactly.
And that might influence the voting a bit.
Right.
I certainly hope it does. This was a big upset beating the 5 seed, and now it's going up against the 4 seed.
Yeah.
I'm honestly going to be very torn on which of those 2 I'm going to choose because I love them both a lot.
Yeah, for me it's a no-brainer, Treasure Planet.
Same.
I'm not going to give away my vote, obviously, but...
All right, you've got plenty of time to think about that because we've still got plenty of round 1 matchups to get through.
Yeah, next week.
All right, so let's give a preview for next week's matchups. Our first matchup, the 6 versus 11 seeds. We have Frozen and The Sword and the Stone.
Oh, wow.
Frozen, a movie that I've seen people talk about all the time. People love it or hate it. Sword and the Stone, no one seems to even care.
I kind of like it, but I'll save that for next week.
Okay.
Movies that when people do talk about it, they talk about how boring it is.
Yeah.
Right.
And anything else they bring up has to do with Merlin.
Right.
Who I hear is like the only reason to watch it.
And Madam Mim, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen it, so maybe I'll be surprised, but I won't be surprised if I'm not surprised.
Okay.
Yeah, when we do.
Wow. There's a sentence from the Redundant School of Redundancy. All right, next we've got the 3 seed versus the 14 seed. Cinderella versus Dinosaur.
Can't have March Madness without Cinderella.
Oh no, not Dinosaur.
You have thoughts on Dinosaur?
Oh no.
I have thoughts on Dinosaur, but I do not expect it to win.
Yeah, this might be another unanimous decision.
Right.
I do.
And also, Dinosaur's technically not Disney canon. It's a third party.
Well, it's in the listing, so.
I'll tell you more about that next week when we get there. How Dinosaurs find out a technicality.
Okay then. All right, and then we've got Winnie the Pooh, the 2011 film, facing off against The Fox and the Hound.
Okay. I've actually never seen the Winnie the Pooh 2011 movie, so
It's good.
I watched it, definitely.
I've heard people say that one's kind of underappreciated.
And it also had the same songwriters for Frozen up the bracket.
Huh. And Fox and the Hound, of course, people who've seen it really love it. Apparently it's a massive tearjerker.
It is.
We'll see if it hits harder than that one seed from The Little Mermaid for me.
I've seen it recently, and I have some opinions.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
I know Mike really likes this one.
Yeah.
All right, and then we've got the 2 seed Dumbo against the 15 seed Non-Existent. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that Dumbo is getting a bye here.
I guess maybe it's got a certain prestige to it.
Yeah,
the Metascore is pretty high. Yeah. It's in the National Film Registry.
Yeah. I mean, literally all 4 of the first 4 Disney films, Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, they're all getting buys here.
Totally get that. Yeah. I understand.
And the 5th film, Bambi, spoilers, is 3 seed in Class D. So just missed out on the buy. Actually, no, it's the 2 seed in Class D.
But it's going up against a 15 seed.
Yeah.
It might as well be a buy.
Yeah, I mean, I put up I think I sent out a link to the spreadsheet that details all of this. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be, any spoilers of the matchup, but just out of curiosity, do you think Home on the Range has a shot of beating Bambi?
Nah.
Probably not.
I say this as someone who enjoys Home on the Range more than most. Nah.
Okay. Well, so yeah, those are our matchups for next week. Got some. I was gonna say we've got some interesting ones, but no. Some of these are pretty obvious. Cinderella. That's an easy choice over Dinosaur.
Spoilers.
Frozen and Sword in the Stone. Some might vote for Sword in the Stone just out of spite to Frozen. I don't see that happening. We didn't get any spite votes so far, considering that Little Mermaid was a unanimous win.
Yep.
I'm not the biggest fan of Frozen, but I'm probably gonna vote reasonably still.
Good. Make informed decisions. And Winnie the Pooh versus Fox and the Hound. I think it might be Fox and the Hound just because the reaction from people who like it is a lot stronger. It might be another situation like Rescuers Down Under going up against Mulan. I mean, people like Rescuers Down Under. They think it was unfairly overlooked, but at the same time, it's going up against Mulan. It never stood a chance.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
Right.
This should be fun. And all right, I think that just about wraps up business for this week. Thank you guys for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
It was.
Yeah, this one was very interesting, especially compared to the others, because we had a lot more closer ones.
Yeah, I like being competitive.
Yeah, this was.